Welcome to Envirolab Sydney. I'm David Springer and I'm going to take you on our first virtual lab tour. This is our sample receipt section where all the samples come in Essies, all with ice bricks to make sure they're cooled. And this is the area where we sort all the samples out. This is our sample extraction area. Now in this area, all the chemists and lab technicians are extracting the samples ready for the instrumentation. All of our samples come in sample jars, generally 250 grams, but we also have some that are 125 grams. And this is the area where everything is weighed out. These are occupational hygiene samples. Now these particular ones are for lead in dust, but these could also look very similar to the samples we take for methamphetamines on surfaces. Likewise, over here are our water samples. And you'll see here that every sample needs to be in a particularly preserved bottle. So we've got nitric bottles, sulfuric bottles, unpreserved bottles, and zinc acetate preserved bottles. Each different test has a different preservative. This is our TCLP room. In here, we're tumbling soil for 18 hours to simulate what contaminants will be leached out in a landfill. So this is our TCLP tumbling room, where soil samples are tumbled in either a buffer or distilled water. And the most common tests here are PAHs or metals. This is our volatiles laboratory, and in here we're doing all of the volatile analysis, things like VOCs, VHCs and BTECs. Now all this analysis is done on a Persian trap. Remember to always let us know if your sample is pure product, as pure product cannot be run on these trace level instruments. Once our samples are extracted for our semi-volatiles, they come into this instrument room. This is for tests like PAHs, OC, OP pesticides, speciated phenols, phthalates, and full SVOC scans of over 200 analytes. All these are analysed by GCMS. So this is an example of PAH analysis. Here we're looking at the 16 US EPA priority PAHs. So in these vials, these are called GC vials, we've extracted a soil sample in solvent, we've added the solvent into these vials, and the solvent will now be analysed by GCMS. So laboratories also have warehouses, and this is our warehouse next door to our main lab. Here we have a stack of eskies which we supply to our customers. Further into our warehouse is where we stock all our lab consumables, jars and bottles for clients. And during COVID, while most people were hoarding toilet paper, we built up our stockpile of over 10,000 sampling jars ready for our customers. You'll also notice we're a dog-friendly lab. That was Ollie wandering around in his winter coat. We've invested in an automated soil jar labelling machine. It makes life easier as all jars leaving the lab have to have our label on them. And something for the environmentalists out there, Envirolab actually has 4 worm farms, and we're currently composting around 250 kilograms of staff kitchen waste per year. Two types of soil samples comes in for asbestos. The small is the 40 gram Australian standard, the large is the NEPM 500 mils. This is our asbestos air lab, and we use the black cartridges there called cowls to collect asbestos on filter paper. We then count the fibres on that filter paper. This is a monolith sample we've made, and we're now passively leaching it in seawater. This method is part of an innovative new method called LEAF, and it's a series of US EPA methods. Another leaf method is the column leach. Here we pack a column with soil and pump generally sight water up through the column, not down through it, and slowly leach out any contaminants. This is acid sulfate soil analysis, and here we're using a distillation apparatus for chromium reducible sulfur. With acid sulfate soils, you can choose either a SPOCAS suite or a chromium reducible sulfur suite. This test is the acid sulfate soil field test and can be done either in the lab, as it is here, or preferably by the consultants out in the field. Here we're adding peroxide to a soil sample and we rate the reaction and the pH. It's a quick screening test. We also test soils for clay by hydrometer. Clay is a NEPM requirement on a proportion of soils. This is our air toxics lab, and in here we're analysing air samples for things like VOCs, TRH and sulphur species. All samples are collected in the canisters that you can see there on the desk. This is an example of the canisters and flow restrictors that we send out to clients for the collection of air samples. All our air canisters are individually certified. A very popular test is PFAS. We have 3 LCMS MSs in the Sydney lab, and they're all mainly busy with testing for PFAS and methamphetamines. So here in our Inorganics lab, we have our discrete analyzer. Now this instrument is analysing colorimetrically, and it will do all of the nutrients: nitrate, nitrite, ammonia, phosphate and hexavalent chromium. Now these 3 tubes are an example of a colorimetric analysis. We have our hexavalent chromium, we have our blue phosphate and we have our ferrous iron. And this instrument will look at the absorbance of those colours and calculate the concentration in the sample. Most soils for inorganics are extracted in water. We do a 1 to 5 extract, and the water is then analysed for analysis, and we convert results into milligrams per kilogram. We digest metals in soil in aquaregia prior to ICP analysis. This is our ICP metals room. In here we're using ICP-MS and ICP-OES to test metals in both soils and waters. We generally do the low-level waters by ICP-MS and the soil samples by ICP-OES.
Hello, this is Envirolab Services. How can I help?
Our customer service section is always a busy section, and we have about 10 dedicated customer service staff.